Good morning from Riverton. All right, we'll see if anybody joins the channel here. And good morning. It is the weekly REC live chat. We like to have fun here on Thursday mornings from 11 to 12, or approximately, based on where things go here. Hopefully we'll get some more people joining the chat. The chat window there to the right on the YouTube screen is being monitored, so I can watch as chat questions come in. If you have any questions or comments or anything you've always wanted to ask the Michi in a public setting, feel free to do so. Just a reminder, though, is that that I have a way for you to call me if you don't want it to be so public. 1-844-REC-LPFM for anything related to LPFM, full service FM translators. We do handle a lot of stuff here, and we handle well, not a lot of stuff, but we handle a little bit of stuff. But we handle a wide array of stuff here, a wide diversity of FM-related stuff anyway. So what is happening this week? I've actually been pretty busy this week, way too busy on various things, because, you know, we've got MB Docket 19193 comments that we're working on. We'll talk about MB 19193 a little bit later. We've got the LMS conversion and getting the REC systems to work correctly for FM with LMS is becoming a challenge, and it's really going to be a two-step effort to make this work. We are going to be, first of all, we're going to eventually move it so all FM current records will come out of LMS, because, I mean, I believe they're all there. I just don't feel that all of the data is there. The CDBS, when they switched from CDBS over, some of the data, I feel like some of the fields from CDBS are not supported in LMS, and I feel that they should be. So, you know, that's something we're working on. We just cleared the UD tool, which is the undesired to desired tool. We cleared that yesterday, so that tool is now fully LMS compatible. Remember, we've done this LMS not ready designation on various applications within the REC universe. And that was one of them that was designated that way until yesterday, when we finally cleared that up. We're also clearing up the issues on the back-end systems. What we've had to do was we've had to develop a separate, we've had to make our own application IDs in our own internal system that will stick with an LMS application, but it's compatible with the old CDBS application IDs. So, and you'll see that when you look in FCC data, and if you look at an LMS record, you're going to see a 7-digit application ID that begins with a 5. Those are the ones that we've had to automatically generate, and those will continue to automatically generate. We do have some issues brewing right now with maps in on LMS records. We had to put in a temporary workaround yesterday. I think we might be able to get that fixed here by this weekend. Hopefully we're going to be able to make a couple other tools LMS ready by this weekend, such as FCC, LPFM, MyLPFM, the LPFM search tool for existing stations, and possibly even the NCE tool. There is some work that needs to go. We've done a lot of back-end work this week to try to get these other tools ready for the conversion. So it's just having to integrate LMS data and CDBS data together. That is going to be the challenge, because what's going into LMS right now is not flowing back into CDBS. So there's no, so yeah, you've got to, but the thing is that a lot of the current records in CDBS are in LMS. But like I said, I'm not satisfied with all the data elements that are in LMS yet, that I feel that I'm ready to move all that over. So we're going to keep CDBS, LMS, their own separate domains, but we're going to use various tools and programming to combine them together. Okay, that's the boring geek talk, but that is an update on where we are on the REC systems, in case you follow stuff like that, or you're a very religious user of the REC systems. And good morning to Joy. I see you out there. Greetings from New York. We'll be talking very briefly about a subject very important to those of you in New York here in just a little bit. Let's look at our numbers for right now. Here's the renewals. And as you can see, we are currently right now for Florida, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, we are at 152 out of 186. That's 82. We are past the deadline. However, we need LPFM stations to please get your filings in very soon. Otherwise, you may be fined. We've already seen the FCC has threatened up to a $3,000 fine. We've already seen one station already fined $1,500 for a very late filed renewal. Good morning, Brock. I see you in the chat, and feel free, everybody, to pop questions in there, and also to please subscribe to this channel. All right, for those in North Carolina and South Carolina, we still have 5 stations that are on the verge of expiring if the FCC doesn't hear from them. Keep in mind that if these stations file right now, they will likely face some form of a forfeiture, and that's WPRG LP, WICQ-LP, WIAR-LP, WVOY-LP, and WYLA-LP. I have no real information on the current goings-ons of those stations, so I don't really have any inside information. I do have some inside information on some of the Florida stations, and there's a couple of them that are there that I'm surprised haven't filed. So again, if you're in that area, please remember to file. Right now, the filing is open for Georgia and Alabama. REC Easy Form is open. So if you're in Georgia or Alabama and you need a little help filing and you're willing to fork over $100 to the Michi, go ahead and visit recnet.com, click on the Easy Form, and put in your call letters and fill out the appropriate information, and we'll get that out to you. Question had come in regards to how renewals are handled if there is an assignment of license in progress, and we did get a clarification from staff on that. And here's the way it's going to work: is if there is a pending assignment application filed at the time that the renewal is filed, the renewal is filed at the time when there's a pending assignment application, the pending assignment application will be held in abeyance. They won't take any action on that, and they will not take any action on that until the FCC grants the renewal. And then once the renewal is granted, the assignment will be granted, and then after that, then you can file the consummation for the new station, for the new organization to take over the station. It's an ugly process, but I guess the mindset of the FCC is that the renewal is based on the behavior of the previous licensee, on the assignor, and so that's what they're evaluating. And so that's pretty much what's going on. What else is happening? Haven't heard too much new coming out of Charlottesville in that proceeding. There has been some requests for extension of time. which is understandable. And we'll see what happens. The extension of time is coming from the LPFM stations. I guess they want more time to put information together. It's common. It's common in informal objections and petitions to deny, to ask for an extension of time. Normally, you reach out to the other attorney, say, "Hey, we need an extension of time. We need more information. This is for the public. This is for the public interest because it will create a complete record." And and usually the other attorney says, "Yeah, great, fine, no problem." And the petitioner will say, "Hey, I want an extension of time. We've talked it over with the other attorney." The FCC normally does not give a yes or no answer on that. They just let the proceeding slide. Also, too, with an informal objection, where there is no pleading cycle, no specific time frames put in place. Doing that helps prolong the FCC to make some kind of a decision. But usually, in many cases, not always, but in many cases, the FCC will usually come to either party on an informal objection for additional information. And as you know, we do have informal objections going right now against some of the last of the Caesar Guel applications, file license to covers from the 2013 window. We are just finding more and more evidence that there was no that these facilities were never built. All right, back to LMS for just a moment. We need to let folks know that we did discover a brand new bug in LMS that just recently happened, that we've recently noticed. I mean, it's been in there since it started, but apparently for LPFM applications, for some stupid reason, LMS is kind of treating them in a way like translators, and they're carrying over the antenna information from the previous licensed records. So if you have so let's say you're running a Scala. Let's say you're licensed right now to run a Scala, like an FMV or some like kind of a non-directional type of antenna like that, and you file for a new location. The new location is going to require a second adjacent waiver. It's going to require a different antenna, let's say a 2-bay Nikon BKG77. You put in your exhibit, says Nikon BKG77. You didn't enter in any kind, you didn't fill in anywhere on that LPFM form that you were specifying a new antenna. However, the outputted form that comes out of that comes out of LMS is showing that the antenna is the Scala FMV, and then the FCC reviews that. They see the Scala FMV on the LMS application, but then they see this exhibit for a Nikon, and they dismiss the application. This has happened to a LPFM right now in Miami. It's happened twice already. This is not one of my people. Actually, honestly, it's somebody who I've been suspecting of other things, but in the public interest of pointing out these various issues and problems that we're having right now with LMS, I went ahead and interceded and said, listen, I'm not here. I am only here to report a technical problem. I am not making a position or anything on this application. I'm not filing an objection or anything like that, or reconsideration. In this case, they've already dismissed. I said, listen, you've got a bug in LMS, and LMS is moving over this information that it shouldn't, because normally in LPFM, you don't ask for the antenna up front. You ask for the antenna on the back end when it comes time to renew, when it comes time to cover the license. Translators works a little differently. Translators, you give the antenna up front, and then then you file the license to cover afterwards. And I think that's what the developers did, was they kind of screwed that up, and they kind of put that carried over that antenna data, probably because they were trying to combine translator and LPFM kind of in a similar schedule, and obviously it didn't work. And why the OMB didn't catch this during the review is beyond me. So that's where we're at on that issue. So be advised that staff has been notified of this. And we're hoping now that staff, until this gets fixed sometime down the road, staff should hopefully now be watching these applications and making sure that if there is a different antenna on the, if there's an antenna specified on the whatchamacallit, on the exhibit, that is the antenna that they plan to run and not the one that carried over from the license record. We're also still reminding everybody to please make sure that on any modification applications, any modifications for LPFM specifically, that you are manually running your height above average terrain and calculating your power using the FM power tool, not completely depending on the one that's in LMS. The one in LMS is wrong. It doesn't work. Remember, this was the same LMS system that put somebody at 4,000 meters below sea level, height above average terrain. The FCC is aware that there's issues, and again, those things are being worked on. But again, every LPFM modification application should include an exhibit with, at least at the minimum, the calculations, screenshots of the height above average terrain tool, so that way the FCC knows where this facility stands, because there's no guarantee that they're going to do that. Now remember, we had a previous issue with CDBS where CDBS tried to automatically calculate the height above average terrains, and in many cases they got it wrong and stations were shortchanged, and that's when we had to come in and say, okay, look, the overnight engineer got you. We need to file another 318 with the FCC to request an adjustment based on what it should, what the height above average terrain should be. You can still use Globe, and you can still use FCC 30 as options, or you can use other terrain data. Like, for example, sometimes I'll use the ComStudy terrain data. I use whichever one works the best for me, because that's how I work. All right, so those are the bugs in LMS. If you have any questions about LMS or any issues, please send them to me before you send them to the audio division, because it might be something that we're already aware of. And I'd rather not bog down the audio division with a ton of stuff if they already know what's going on. So, and if you do share it with the audio division directly, please share it with me too. Again, we're watching all of the bugs over here from an LPFM perspective. So again, I appreciate any help on that. And we need to, LMS is actually a much easier system to use once you get used to it. And let's see how it goes. Of course, we're always going to miss CDBS. MB Docket 19193. Reminders. There we go. Comments are due in 11 days. So please get your comments in. We are very interested in your LP250 stories. We're very interested in getting, actually we're looking at two major things that were rejected from the petition for rulemaking. That were in the notice of proposed rulemaking that were left out. And those were the LP250 and the ability for LPFM stations to have some relief towards translators. And that would be that the LPFM station should be allowed to short space a translator and be able to use contours to show a lack of interference. And those are the two big items that we're trying to get added back in, if not for a further notice of proposed rulemaking. I don't want to delay the window, especially on the LP250 proceeding, because the LP250 would be an upgrade anyway from existing LP100 stations. We're not proposing it as an out-of-the-box type of service. The idea is we use the LP100 to gauge the demand for LPFM. Then once that is, once that has been determined, these stations are up, and running, then we can work on upgrading them to 250. So that's kind of the idea there. So we're interested in your stories. We're interested in anything that you need to say about LP250. There's some various proposals in there too, including minor change, expanding the length of where a minor change could go, offering some relief to the stations in the border regions, a little more flexibility on directional antennas. Just some various other items in there that definitely need your support. So in case you're wondering how to file a comment, because this has come up a few times, you can go to the FCC's electronic comment filing system website, and the proceeding you're going to want to select is 19-193. That is the proceeding. Now, you can prepare your document, your comment document, as a Word document, a text file probably, a PDF file, whatever, and then you can upload it there. To me, those get the most weight. I think those are the ones that the FCC looks at first and puts the most weight on. I know those are the ones I put the most weight on when reviewing. The other option is express comment there, the middle option there. If you click on express comment, you get some of the similar fields that you'll see below. You're still going to select proceeding 19-193, but then you're going to have a free text area where you can just go ahead and type in your text. And to me, I just feel like that is a consumer-friendly method that the FCC had put in place. You really want your filing to get looked at. Prepare it. Try to use standard form if you can. Use the standard captioning format if you can, and then file it as a Word doc or like a PDF doc. And I prefer PDFs. Actually, PDF is the best way to go because your PDF would be able to be read by anybody, whereas if you upload it as a Word doc, it will only be able to be read by those who have Microsoft Word, OpenOffice, or one of the Microsoft read-only tools. So please get your comments in support of the various things proposed in 19193. Also, we need to urge the FCC to bring LP250 back on the table. Also to bring translator relief back on the table. And we're also working on a way to allow LPFM stations to negotiate a short space where they can be less than 24 kilometers apart as long as they could show that there's no contour overlap because of contours or intervening terrain or anything like that. That is something that we're working on. We have a live waiver test that's going to be getting ready to happen here real soon. I can't give any more details on that yet, but we are working on that right now. So just some things on that. Let's see. Let's see. Comment coming in. I've noticed that the FCC's online public inspection file is not showing amended applications. Shows originals in the auto-populated applications folder. Do you know the right contact to report this? I'm assuming you're talking about perhaps a. Do we know if these are LMS applications or are these still like CDBS applications from that are like assignments and transfers and anything that needs to go into CDBS? I know, for example, for assignments and transfers, the way that amendments are handled is really weird. Yeah, I mean, if this is happening, let's see if the OPIF has a technical reporting. Let me see what I don't do a lot with the OPIF system. I run my own OPIF system for LPFM stations at lpfm.ws. Since LPFM stations do not have access to the online public file system. Let's see. Well, I mean, probably first course of action would be is to put in an e-support ticket. Of course, that will go to the that'll go to the chain of probably GS5 and GS6 low-level employees, or a contractor, even worse, a contractor. And you know, it may go its own separate ways. Are we talking about, okay, LMS, are we talking about LMS applications for like modification? I assume we're talking about modification applications in radio, or are we talking about some, okay, are we talking about TV? If it's radio, I would say probably James Bradshaw would be your contact person for if it is a radio LMS issue. If it's a TV issue, then it would need to go to somebody in the video division. So, yeah, I mean, if that's the case, you know, by all means. There has been some issues with LMS. Okay, renewals. Okay, ooh, okay. Yeah, then I would probably forward that to Jim Bradshaw. You know, LMS. I know that Public File did some kind of an update over the past weekend because we had seen there were granted renewals that the new expiration dates were not reflecting in OPIF, and it was confusing the public. And it went to the whole. It was some comments because there were some people out there saying, "Oh, Pacifica's WPFW's last broadcast day is going to be on October 1st, and after that they have to go off the air because that's what the OPIF says, and the OPIF is God." You know, even though there was a granted renewal. So it will be, you know. So, and when I've checked it now, I mean, I believe that has been fixed. So. But yeah, the renewal, the amendments to the renewals, yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to work out. I would say just go ahead. You've got my blessing. Just go ahead, contact Jim Bradshaw. If you email, please CC me, lpfm@recnet.com, just so I'm in the loop in what's going on because I am kind of interested in that kind of situation too. So I appreciate that. So. Let's see what's coming up. October FCC meeting, really not that much, nothing really exciting from a broadcast perspective on this meeting. And also too, notice the meeting is going to be on a Friday, October 25th. I believe it's going to still be at the normal 10:30 time point. Enforcing rural broadband quality standards. The Commission will consider an order on reconsideration that would assure that carriers receiving high-cost universal service support to deploy rural broadband are accountable to consumers, taxpayers, and the Commission, whilst providing flexibility for smaller carriers by making targeted modifications to the testing procedures that carriers must use to show that their networks perform at the Commission's speed and latency standards. Now, of course, that's always been an issue because I don't know what the current standards are right now, but I know in the I know in the past, there we are. I just know in the past the FCC has put this very low standard on what is considered broadband, and I mean for a while there it was like ISDN was considered broadband, so. I don't know. So we'll see what I've not had a chance to read that proceeding yet. I don't really get too involved in telecom anymore. I used to. I was much more involved in telecom before than I am now. So let's see. 911 Fee Parity Commission will consider a declaratory ruling that'll declare Section 6F1 of the New and Emerging Technologies 911 Improvement Act of 2008 and ensure regulatory parity in 911 fees between voice over IP providers and traditional telecommunications services. So I guess it's just a fee parity issue there as far as making sure that everybody is fairly charged for the services that they use. Broadcast antenna siting. The Commission will consider a notice of proposed rulemaking that'll seek comment on whether the common antenna siting rules for FM and TV broadcast applicants and licensees dating back to 1945 be revised or eliminated given the current broadcast marketplace. Um, this is a very interesting rule. This goes back many years ago, and yeah, it's basically the way it works is that if you own, this is like 1945 early days rules, especially back. I mean, this goes back to when TV and FM were new, and the idea was that if you had the primo site in town, if you had the best antenna site, you had the best tower site, you had the best little mountain site, whatever. It was kind of an expectation that you also offer that if another broadcaster comes and says, hey, we want to be on your tower, maybe a couple wavelengths down from you, that in the past, yeah, the rules were there was this expectation that the broadcaster would be required to offer that space. It's like I said, it's an old archaic rule, and it's one of those rules that's very rarely ever enforced, and yeah, it needs to go away. This is all part of media modernization. This falls into the 17105 media modernization, and it's one of those old 1950s eras rules that just it does not apply really in today's marketplace because now towers are not normally owned by the radio broadcasters. And these days, some towers are owned by management companies like American Tower and SBA and Crown Castle, and they would not necessarily be under that same obligation. It's if the tower. My understanding is if the tower is owned by the broadcaster itself, that there would be some issues there. Let's see. Petition for determination of effective competition. The Commission will consider a memorandum opinion in order that would find that Charter faces effective competition from AT&T's online video streaming service in franchise areas in Massachusetts and Hawaii. Now, I have not read the actual proceeding yet to know exactly what they're referring to. I don't know if they're referring to their like their FiOS type UVerse. That's what AT&T calls theirs, UVerse. Their UVerse type service, their fiber to the curb service. If that's what they call streaming, or if they're calling streaming something like an OTT service like DirecTV Now, where it's delivered over the internet, delivered over a box like a Roku or something like that. That is, I don't know what they are looking at there, but that's kind of bottom line is what these proceedings basically do is they allow the incumbent cable company to say, look, the satellite companies, the DirecTV, the dishes, the OTT providers, the fiber carriers and such, they are biting into our apple here, and and we need to be able to be fairly treated at not as an incumbent carrier, but as a true competitor, and that's kind of where the cable companies want to go. This kind of thing has been going on for years. These declarations of effective competition, and it's based on, and they base it on the saturation of customers for each of and the market share for each of the providers. So AT&T has X% of the customer base, Charter has X%, Dish and DirecTV, and like I said, I don't know if they're including DirecTV in what the AT&T UVerse number or how that works. So again, that's why again, I haven't read the actual order yet, but we've been busy with a lot of other more important things here. So that's where we're at on that. Let's see. Oh, one that didn't make it on here. Tariff rules modernization. The FCC will consider a report in order that would amend its tariffing rules to better align them with the reality of easy electronic access to tariff filings. Again, this is a telecom issue, and I guess what they're just doing is they're just trying to streamline things. And expediting the conclusion of the 800 megahertz band reconfiguration, the Commission will consider a report in an order on the 6th further notice of proposed rulemaking that would streamline rules and procedures to expedite the successful completion of the 800 megahertz band reconfiguration initiative and tower program costs and administrative burdens, and to continue to alleviate to interference to public safety licensees. That is a public safety telecom issue. A lot of this, I believe, has to do with the realignments of the 800 megahertz band. You know, with I think was it Sprint is giving up some of their spectrum or moving stuff around and trying. This has been going on for a while. A refarming of the 800 megahertz band. It's a pain in the butt. Again, it's really an issue that I don't get too involved in right now, and but it is on the agenda, and we plan to carry the meeting live on that day there, that Friday the 25th. So be looking for that. FCC meetings are carried over Facebook Live. All other REC Lives are carried over YouTube. Again, I ask that you please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. At the minimum, and so that way it helps. It actually does help if we get more subscribers, because the subscribers help let us turn on other features and make things a little easier. I mean, right now I'm nowhere near anywhere for monetization, and I'm not really seriously pushing for monetization of the stream. So, for what it's worth, that's what it is. Okay. Last issue on the list I have here for today is in regards to WBAI and the situation going on right now at Pacifica. In case you were not aware, what has happened is the reality of what's happened is that the Pacifica Foundation, the Berkeley-based organization, has pretty much discontinued local programming at WBAI in New York. They have turned down the studios. They've shut down the studios there. Right now they are running a national stream called Pacifica Across America on there. They have dismissed all of the employees at WBAI. The employees and the local governance board for WBAI had filed for a temporary restraining order in the Supreme Court for the state of New York. They were granted that. Temporary restraining order pending a hearing on the issue down the road. It looks like Pacifica Foundation itself is going to be fighting that. I believe there's something going on today on that, and we'll see what happens with that. I've already been asked by several people for an REC position on the whole Pacifica issue. Pacifica has always been a major hotbed of controversy at the local station levels and at the national board levels. And trust me, I have seen my share of politics, rhetoric, both sides, all sides of the issue going around. Where it comes to this dispute between BAI and the Pacific National Board, I know people on both sides. I've read many of the things going on, many of the releases that are coming out from the local side, and the things coming out from the national side. REC normally does not take a position on the internal politics of the Pacifica Foundation. We are a Pacifica affiliate, which kind of puts us at an arm's reach of Pacifica. However, REC does not take any does not take any subjective, we'll say subjective position on what's going on. I'm not going to say that the local board is right. I will not say that the national board is right here. I do have one concern though out of this whole thing, and that is the fact that part of the restraining order that came out is trying to control what goes over the air on WBAI, the actual FM transmitter. Now, we need to point out here that the party and interest, the party and interest of WBAI is the Pacifica Foundation. It is the Berkeley-based organization that sometimes and the folks that are involved with the national organization, sometimes called the PNB or the Pacifica National Board. If you look at the 2018 ownership report filing for WBAI, which is filed together with like KPFK, KPFAB, WPFW, and the other Pacifica owned and operated stations, you're going to find that those are the folks that are responsible for what goes over that FM transmitter. And in my opinion, it is their right as the board to say what goes over that transmitter, because they as the licensee are responsible for what goes over that transmitter, not the local governance board. The local governance board may be one person. I believe there's like one or two people from the local board that are on the national board, at least based on that ownership report that I read. So here's the thing, is I feel that there's a jurisdiction issue where it comes to the actual transmission over FM. I feel that there's an issue of jurisdiction where it comes to what goes over the FM channel, meaning that Pacifica Foundation, in my opinion, is not obligated because of federal superiority, that they are obligated in any way to carry the local Pacifica programming that is produced at that studio. Now, with that aside, let's look at the other issues. The actual hiring of employees, hiring and firing of employees, that is not an FCC issue. The operation of the website is not an FCC issue. The operation of an internet stream, not an FCC issue. Therefore, if this TRO is allowed to carry on, then the Pacifica National Board, in my opinion, still has the right to control what goes over WBAI, the radio station, the FM transmitter. However, if the TRO says it, then yeah, then it sounds like to me that the staff needs to come back, and the website needs to come back, and yeah, I would even say put WBAI local programming on the internet stream, and that would be something that the TRO would be able to cover. Now, of course, you've got a First Amendment issue where it comes to the issue of broadcasting, of saying what should go over the internet stream or not. But still, that is an issue that is outside of the. I'm concerned mainly about the FCC realm. What is in the FCC's realm? And what's in the FCC's realm is the output of that FM station, of WBAI, the FM station. And in that case, I feel that the Pacifica National Board has full control, and that they need to make sure that that they maintain control of that station. If they don't, then they need to just shut the transmitter down. Simple as that. Go silent. I know that's going to be very hard, but again, it's the Pacifica National Board. It is not the local governance board at WBAI that is the licensee of that station. Who has final control over the output of the FM transmitter is the national board. Everything else is outside the FCC's jurisdiction, and I'm taking no position. All right, so whatever happens there, but as far as the transmitter goes, to me, that still belongs to the national board. And the national board, if they want to run, if they want to come over here and run J-pop, I'll be more than happy to give them J-pop. But that's not what New York deserves. New York deserves some good alternative programming, whether it is local or whether right now on a temporary basis while they work everything out, it's national. And again, what happens outside the FM transmitter is between the Pacifica National Board, the local governance, the BAI employees, and the courts. But the FM transmitter, that is federal jurisdiction in my opinion, and the Pacifica National Board is where we got there. To me, has that right. Somebody comments in Applause Zero comments in the chat. I am amazed at the depth and breadth of your knowledge of the regs. I'm sure this knowledge means that the FCC folks dread seeing you show up at a hearing. Normally the FCC really doesn't hold a lot of, quote, hearings per se anymore. All their, quote, hearings are done through the comment process, through the comment and reply comment period process. And trust me, when they get comments from me, a lot of times it's a stack. It is definitely a stack because I get very detailed with comments. Because I try to back up my data. And of course, a lot of what's what you're seeing right now in the MB 19193. I mean, everything in MB 19193 is pretty much mine. In the previous proceeding, MB Docket 19-3, which was the administrative changes, we had a couple items in there, and a lot of that came from the media modernization proceeding, MB Docket 17105, which is the FCC opened the book and said, okay, what's wrong with the media rules? Let's try to fix them. But, I do occasionally go to D.C., and because I'm 3 hours away, 4 hours now, thanks to the Bay Bridge construction. But I do go to D.C. every so often, and I do make presentations. I do make ex parte presentations on proceedings. We're getting ready to possibly do another one here real soon, so we can get the filing windows in order for the NCE window for that. The writing, the FCC has not officially announced anything yet, but the writing is on the wall with MB Docket 19-3 that we're going to have a filing window for full service FM broadcast stations, non-commercial, below 92, so 88.1 to 91.9, and then after that, we should have, and I feel like we're going to have an LPFM window. And the FCC originally had said they wanted to do the LPFM window, then the NCE window, and I totally disagree with that concept. Because with the other changes that are going on in 19-193, which is mainly the very highly controversial changes to the Channel 6 requirements, Channel 6 protection. Basically, the Channel 6 protections are going to go away with the new with this proceeding. If that happens, that's going to open up channels below 92 for new LPFM stations. However, what I don't want to see is an LPFM window happening first, such as after the analog sunset of the low-power TV stations, which is where this Channel 6 change is timed around, and that sunset is scheduled for sometime in July of 2021. And I don't want to see the LPFMs go into that spectrum, because there will be channels that will open up in some areas as a result of the analog sunset. Then to turn around, then after maybe a year or so afterwards, with non-commercial stations coming in and filing for that same spectrum because they don't have to protect LPFM stations, and then the LPFM stations getting dislocated and having to move somewhere else. We don't want to see that happen. So NCE full service window first, then LPFM. NCE full service window can happen before the analog sunset because they don't have to protect the LPTV stations. They only have to protect the 8 or 9 full service TV stations that are on channel 6. And then afterwards, after the sunset, LPFM window where none of the TV stations have to be protected. So that only makes sense. So anyway, that's where we're at on things this week. Any more questions or anything before we move along here? Feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll be keeping a watch on those here. Other than that, like I said, we're just in the process right now of getting all of our systems working with LMS. Again, LMS has been a bumpy road for both me on the REC side as well as on the FCC side. And there's definitely been some bumps in the road. We're finding them out. But I just wish that the FCC would hurry up and get the rest of everything over there. I am a bit upset because we still do not have ownership reports from LMS in the raw data. And that is going to be very critically important come LPFM window time, because that data helps us find out who the bad actors are. And yes, LPFM does have bad actors. Guess what? So do FM translators, and so does Full Power. But we try to keep our shop clean here as much as we can. And yeah, I did file stuff in 2013 against applicants in LPFM. And yes, no LPFM station is above the law. Just because, again, like I've said before, just because you have an LPFM designator on your license does not make you above the law or any more special than somebody else. If you're a bad actor, you're a bad actor. And right now, we have the NAB, who is painting LPFM with this hugely broad brush and saying, because of the fact that there are some LPFMs that have been broadcasting from unauthorized locations, that have been unauthorized powers, uncertified transmitters, using really strange antennas, that they should not have good stuff. Well, guess what? Translators are doing the same thing. And so if we're going to broaden the brush, we need to broaden it among the whole entire broadcast industry, not just LPFM. Every service has its skeletons. Every service. And, the idea is we need to identify those skeletons and deal with them individually, but that should not reflect badly on LPFM, or in the same point should not reflect badly on FM translators, because we are all trying to share 100 rooms in a house is basically what it is. Think of it as a 100 room house that we're all having to share. The big broadcasters, the small broadcasters, everybody's got noisy rooms with paper walls. And, and the worry is that one's going to interfere with the other. And then you have the Franken FM stations on the Channel 6 TV stations that are running FM. Well, think of them as like that somebody had pitched a tent just outside the outside the building, outside the 100 room building. Okay, so there's the analogy of the FM dial and how this all works out. A crazy analogy, but it works. Anyway, without any questions, any other chat comments, I think we will say sayonara, and we'll be back again here next Thursday, hopefully from 11 to 12, so we can talk to you about anything FCC related, and hopefully maybe we'll have some more updates on LMS, REC system development, and maybe some good stuff on 19-193. Again, a reminder, please file your comments for 19193 by going to that URL in the FCC electronic comment filing system. It's docket proceeding 19-193, and you can go there and file. And again, the due dates on there. We've got comment due date of October 21st. We may file to extend that out a week. I'm not sure yet if we're going to do that or not. But I'd like to see some comments starting to come in. Please show your support for the future of LPFM. Get your comments in by October 21st on MB Docket 19-193. And also, if you want to, you can also refer to Docket 17-105. Just make sure that 19193 is in there. The reply comments are due on November 4th. All right, so until then, if you need anything, please call me at 1-844-REC-LPFM or 202-621-2355. We're on the internet at recnet.com. See, I'd never be able to do the weather. There we go. At recnet.com at 1-844-REC-LPFM 202-621-2355. Please subscribe to the channel. Please hit the notification. That way you know what's going on. I've got a lot of video. I just don't have time to get to it. Got video that I recorded over the summer while I was in California at the various radio stations. I just have not had the time to do it. I'm sorry. I'm Michi, okay? All right, so again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.